evening, guys, and thank you so much for joining in on
Thank
this
you,
live.
Sonali.
We are about to be in conversation with a man that needs no introduction, but I'm still going to introduce him a little bit. His first book was published in 1956, and since then he has authored more than 500 short stories, essays, and novels, which includes 69 books for children. No prizes for guessing. We are talking about one and only Mr. Ruskin Bond. His latest book is not a novel or a children's book. It's a collection of anecdotes and essays on what it's like to grow old. Oh, and by the way, advanced happy birthday, because you're going to turn 89 on Friday. My God. How does it feel, Mr. Bond?
How does it feel? Well, it feels the same as when I was 88 last year and 87 before that. So not very different to previous years. In fact, better than last year. So I'm very fortunate actually to have been able to have such a long literary career. And as you say, turned out so many stories and books for children and for adults too. Um, and ever since the age of 17 or 18, so from 18 to 89, it's been really a life built around playing with words, you could say, putting sentences together. And I've managed to make a living doing it too, which is the best thing about it, to go through life making a living doing what you love most. And in my case, writing, although writing maybe comes second. I'm basically a reader, and I'm a reader first and a writer second, because I was a bookworm when I was young, and I'm still a bookworm. I read about 3 books a week, and I won't write 3 books a week. I might do 2 or 3 a year. So I'm very fortunate in that respect to be now at my age, still writing, still reading, and talking to you.
Amazing. The latest book is the Golden Years. I don't know, can we say this properly? The Golden Years.
It's not, for a change, it's not a book for children. It's for older people such as myself, or people in the 60s, 70s who might at times feel a little down in the dumps or a little tired and
I would love to agree with you on everything, but on this I will disagree with you a little bit on this, because I think it's not just for above 60-year-olds. I think it's a beautiful book which has so many life lessons which any of us at any age can pick it up and kind of take a lesson out of it and lead life. It's a heartwarming book. And what made you think of writing this book?
Well, the suggestion was made by a friend of mine who said he'd read a few extracts in my journals. I keep a sort of not daily, but a weekly journal, let's say. 2 or 3 times a week, I'll put down my thoughts and feelings and
is it like
observations.
The gratitude journal that a lot of us like to write a gratitude journal, or just like in the childhood there would be a diary that you would write. Is it something like that you
so it emerged from that. So the friend reading it said, why don't you take something from your journal which would apply to people such as myself or him, and put them together as a book. So that's why they're episodic. Each piece is like a little essay, in a way, a mini essay.
How was this book writing? The process of writing this book, how was it different from the other books that you write? Because there are characters that are forming in your head, and you're writing about them. While here you're looking at anecdotes from your journal and putting it back, it in this
that's
book
true.
How was it different?
Basically, I'm a story writer, a short story writer, and or written short novels too. So that's fiction. So this is non-fiction. But I've always, even when I wrote my first novel. It was, in fact, based on a journal I'd been keeping the year before as a boy. So
Okay.
a lot of my writing has come out of um, my journals, or
Okay.
even my dreams, you might say. So, and of course, stories are basically about people, because people are stories.
Yeah.
But in this case, it's more in the nature of reflections or looking inward, and maybe in a way helping others to look inward too, and find a little more meaning to life, and making it worth living for. Um, and I think um, somebody asked me if I have any regrets in life, and as a writer, none at all. I'm a writer without regrets.
Hmm.
But as a person, naturally, we all have our regrets. Sometimes I feel I might have done more for my sister, or I might have been kinder to my mother, and we we have guilt feelings, sort of, about the
Yes.
past, about something that we could have done maybe better, or been kinder or softer to people. Um, um, so one shouldn't feel too guilty, if, uh, provided one's led a reasonably unselfish life. And I think one must live for others, basically, to be happy, and have something to live for as well. In my case, I've always wanted to be a better writer. So I'm still striving to be a better writer,
You are
to
a
write a better
perfectionist, that means.
story or a better novelist. So
We think
I
it's
think,
fabulous what you write, and you still think you could do better. So we're still going to
oh,
keep
actually,
looking
yes,
forward to the better books that come from you, that means. But
uh,
like you said, there is a specific way that this book is structured. It's more like it's more anecdotal, as you said. Can we call it a story about you?
it is in many ways, yes. Um, about Naturally, it would be about me, because when I'm trying to help the reader in a way to see things through my eyes, uh, the natural world, the pleasures that you get from the great outdoors, from trees, from forests, mountains, streams, birds. I've known bird. I met known several people who are bird watchers, and I think they're the most balanced people in the world. So I think, if you want to get maybe the right balance in your life, and go out and become a bird watcher. I think
And
I
we're
might
all
have omitted
striving
that
for
from
that,
my
for
book.
finding
Pardon?
that balance in our life. That's true. But as you talk
Uh,
about bird watching and trees and streams and
yeah.
mountains, I think it's over 60 years that you've stayed in Landor.
Hmm.
It is, right? About 60 years that you've stayed in Landor. It's
No,
beautiful, and
oh, Landau.
yes,
Landau, yeah, that's the 1980. Um, so that's
yeah,
nearly
around 60.
40 years in Landau.
Yeah.
But I was in Missouri before that. So I've been uh, in in the hill station for over 50 years, yes. Um,
So what made you
well,
settle down in Landor?
I didn't settle down, actually. I promoted myself. I used to live lower down the hill, and I gradually worked my way up. Um, but it gets pretty cold here in the winter.
Yes.
So I think next winter I'll start working my way a little way down again
Okay.
into the valley. Um, because I do value the sun, and
Mm-hmm.
as I say somewhere in this book, the best thing in the best part of the day is when I wake up in the morning, 6:37, and the first thing I do is open the window and wait for the first rays of the sun to come through onto my bed or my desk.
Yeah.
And it it gives me the feeling that here is a new day, a new life in a way,
And a new
and I can start
beginning.
all over again.
Yeah. Oh, that's
So the
beautiful. Yeah.
sunshine for me is all important.
Yeah.
But I guess if you're living in Mumbai or New Delhi, sometimes you could do with less sun and
Yes,
more shade.
especially right now in the last few days in Mumbai, it's been crazy hot,
It,
and we could
it
really do
must
with a
be,
little
yes,
bit of less sun.
it must be.
Yeah.
When I talk about how much I like the sun, I don't realize how much some people suffer from it.
But
too much, too
no,
much
but
of
what you
sun.
said is so true. When you talk about the sunshine, you're talking about the early morning rays, the early morning sun, which is always beautiful, and that feeling of new beginning. So I get that part of the sunshine, and I love it too because and I mean, you even mentioned that a lot of the youngsters today are asleep at that point of time, and they're not getting up and kind of looking at the sunrise. And I've been
Oh,
guilty of that too. And I feel that too. As
yes,
I grow older, I appreciate the rising sun a lot more than I ever did.
yes. We don't realize how much we're missing. I think uh, if we miss out on the greater part of the morning and
Yeah.
you only get up at noon, a lot of living has been lost. And
Yeah,
uh,
I think the most productive part of your day gets lost. That's the most productive part of your day, I feel.
from the most productive part, it, no particular part. The morning is a good time, and sometimes it depends. If I now that I'm getting older, I like to sleep. So the afternoon siesta
Mm-hmm.
is something I look forward to. But if I feel like it, I'll take a pre-lunch siesta and then work in the afternoon. So as soon as I'm feeling, a little bright,
Yeah.
um, I'll go to my desk and do a little writing.
Mm-hmm.
So from that writing point of view, any time of the day. Um, if in the middle of the night I get an idea, I'll put on the light and jot it down. I won't
Mm-hmm.
start working on it then, but I would make a note so that I wouldn't forget it. So I
Absolutely.
guess in a way, a writer is working around the clock mentally, uh,
Right.
if not necessarily actually putting words to paper.
Absolutely.
And I keep a dream book too. So if I have a very interesting or wonderful dream, as I had the other night, I make a note of it. Sometimes I get a story out of a dream. Uh, and over the years, there's
So,
the odd
what
story
was
has
this wonderful
actually,
dream that you had 2 nights ago, 3 nights ago? You just
yes,
mentioned the wonderful
well,
dream.
it was a
We want to
it
hear
was a
about the
dream in
dream.
color. Normally, I don't notice the color in my dreams, but this
Okay.
dream was in vibrant color. I was trekking through the mountains, and there was verdant green everywhere, shades of green. There were wildflowers. There were pheasants, huge, and 5 times the normal size. Birds much bigger than they usually are, but they weren't
Okay.
aggressive. Um, and there were other people walking through the fields and over hill and dale, but they had no connection with me. I was on my own, and I was on my way home, but the road kept getting longer and longer and longer, and I was getting further and further away from home. Uh,
Okay.
and and finally, I woke up, so I don't know if I got home at all. But it was
So,
a
the interesting thing here would
seemingly
be that
it was a beautiful dream. It was like seeing a film.
that's
Um,
beautiful. What would be wonderful will be to see that in future we're going to be watching out for what you write and look for where is this dream going to come into, and what shape is this dream going to take is what is something that we readers are going to look forward to now.
thank you. Well, a lot of my writing is visual.
Hmm.
Um,
Yes, it is.
Perhaps it's the influence also of films, which because as a boy, I was a real film buff. I used to go to the cinema 2 or 3 times a week. So I
Yes, you do mention that in
grew
the
up on
book.
all the classics and other films, and from the 1940s and 50s and 60s. Now I don't see films that much, but um, I grew up on them, and I think maybe in a way they helped me to write. When I write a story, Before I sit down to write it, I visualize it. I see it like
Completely.
a film or a picture. Hmm. So that helps. So I've written the story in my head, beginning, middle, and end.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen it, the characters, even the dialogue. So then actually putting it down on paper is quite easy. Then I just have
Okay.
to make up interesting sentences and words and make it interesting. So I visualize it first. Um,
Tell me, you just mentioned that you're not watching movies. You loved cinema and you used to watch so many movies and you're not watching them as much anymore. Is there any particular reason why you're not watching movies as
did you
much as
hear
you
me,
used to?
Shifty? I couldn't quite
You know, you've
get
written
what you were saying.
it in the book and you mentioned it just now also that you've always loved watching cinema. You've loved movies. But you just
Yes,
mentioned that you don't watch it as much anymore. Is there any
that
reason why you're not watching movies
I
as
think
much anymore?
I read more now. I read
Okay.
more, and you see, I grew up on cinema. So in other words, I used to go to the cinema,
Mm-hmm.
to the picture hall.
Mm-hmm.
But now everybody watches films on their TV set or on the
Right.
on the home screen, and somehow that takes some of the magic away from it
You
for me. Uh,
love the movie halls and the drama of movie
yes,
halls.
those cinema halls, they was dark, and you went in and it was escape.
Yeah.
It was a great escape,
Yeah.
especially for a lonely boy, and I was a lonely boy for many years. So that was escape. But now it's no longer an escape. It's there in your sitting room. Huh?
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's in a way it's lost some of its
Charm.
magic.
Yeah.
Whereas
Yeah. It's magic.
as a boy, I could go and see David Copperfield. I'd be in London or I'd be in the Wild West, or anywhere in the world, or wherever
Yeah.
the movie was happening.
Absolutely.
And I could get lost in it because the hall was dark and you were totally involved.
You were
Now
transported
there's
into that.
too many
Uh,
distractions now.
yeah. Yeah. Which part would you say of your life was most enjoyable for you?
Which part of
Could you
my life is
was most enjoyable?
the most enjoyable
Yeah.
part? Oh,
Most fun, most enjoyable, which you look back to and say that I had fun
yes.
at this point. Oh, this was special.
Well, it's nice being with my grandchildren, Siddharth, Shrishti, Gautam. They keep the place alive, and parents Rakesh and Beena, they spoil me. So I'm happy with a book that I'm enjoying. I'm happy looking out the window. Fortunately, I have a, a fairly large window, bedroom window, and from it I can see the mountains. I can see the clouds, the sky. I can see the valley below. Uh, I can see two or three little roads below the house and people on them. I can see what they're doing. So there's never a dull moment.
No,
Something is
I
happening
understand
outside.
that. But what I'm asking is that the period with your grandchildren is special and most enjoyable. But in your life, like it's a journey. And
Oh, in my
which
life,
is the phase of life, yeah, which was most enjoyable for you, which you said that
oh, the
when you look
the
back
part
now.
of my life that was most enjoyable. Uh, uh, Falling in love 2 or 3 times.
Ah,
Yes.
nice. Because you have mentioned that your
Well,
childhood was lonely.
but that goes back a long way, back into my 30s and maybe from the age of 20 to the age of 40. I was always falling in love.
That's
So
beautiful.
sometimes uh, it was it was beautiful and enjoyable. At other times, it was a big dip because things didn't work out as one would have wanted them to. So I was often the rejected lover. So, um, but looking back on it, even um, the sad affairs, you could say, have a certain um, um,
Certain beautiful
beauty about
stories
them
came
when you
out of
remember.
that also, I would say.
Hmm?
You
Sorry?
could say that certain beautiful stories came out of that also.
Yes, they did. There was stories did come out of it. Love is a sad song, and Time
Yeah.
stops at Shamli, and some of the a lot of my early stories
Mhm.
um, do emanate from
Yeah.
experiences I had and people
You
I've
know,
known.
you do say, what do you think is the common mistake that people make when they're younger? Now, obviously, when you're of the age that you are and you write a book like The Golden Years, then these are the questions we're going to ask you, because now we want the
Mm,
experience that you have, the insight that you have, and the journey that
mm.
you've seen. So you've obviously seen it in a certain way. So, what are the common mistakes you think that people make when they're younger? This is for all our
The
younger
mistake,
audience, so we don't make those mistakes.
the mistakes that we make when we're
When
young.
we are younger, when we are younger.
Mm. Well, I guess we, we all make mistakes. I don't think I made any major mistake.
No, I don't mean you. What I'm asking you is that what do you think are the common mistakes that younger people make? So as you grow older, which you have, when you look back, what do you think you would tell the younger people that these are the mistakes that you make because you're younger? Just
Yes,
get over this.
yes, that's right. I think be more uh, understanding of the difficulties that your parents might be facing. Um,
Mm-hmm.
because I remember when I grew up, my mother was having a hard time economically. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
my father having died, and my stepfather not doing well in business. So maybe I didn't really appreciate the hard times that she was going through.
Right.
So you think maybe of your own comforts and your own pleasures, and you want to have a good time,
Yeah.
not realizing that your parents are having a hard time.
True, true, true.
So
Yeah, that's a
uh,
beautiful
one
message.
should perhaps look outside of oneself a little more when you're young,
Mm-hmm.
and perhaps understand uh, the problems that not only your parents are facing, but maybe your brothers and sisters, and don't
Put yourself in
take
somebody
everything
else's
for
shoes.
granted.
Yeah, don't take
Try
anything
to.
for
I think a lot of us don't bother much about the future until
granted.
the future is upon us.
Mm-hmm.
So I think kids maybe could decide earlier, little earlier than uh, in their lives, while they're still at school or even before they go to college, as to what they want to do,
Right.
uh, the kind of career they want to follow, if it's a career, no, and the kind of life they want to have, so that they're not suddenly 30 years old and don't know what to do with
Don't know where they're
themselves.
heading. Yeah, understood.
Yes, so
So,
to try and look ahead a little more.
so this is
It's difficult
lovely. What
because
you're basically saying
the,
is try and understand what your parents, siblings, etc. are going through. Put
yes,
yourself in other
the
people's
thing is, when we're
shoes.
young, we're living in the present all the time, so it's hard to look ahead. Um,
Think about the future a little bit is what you're saying.
yes, yes, that's right. Uh,
So
One's own
this is
future and the
what,
future of one's loved ones too,
yeah,
and and
absolutely.
the
That's
people
important.
you depend on you,
That's true.
because one day you're going to have responsibilities,
That's
uh,
true.
and you can't shirk
Yeah,
them.
yeah,
Because if you
absolutely.
shirk them, then you fail in life in a way.
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah.
So one has to face up to problems, responsibilities, and do one's best
That's
for others. There's my grandmother, my maternal grandmother, did a lot even in her old age for
mm-hmm.
her children, especially for her daughters who had difficult times. And on her grave in Ranchi, there's just one line written there which says, she did her best for all of us. So actually, her children did realize that she had sacrificed a great deal for them.
Right.
And that's important, I think, that we do
Do our
that we're
best.
grateful for the kind of help that we've had from family,
Right.
from friends, from maybe publishers or, or strangers.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because sometimes human beings can be nice and kind. Not, though not always.
That's
But I
true.
think
But yeah,
by
I
and
do. I
large,
do feel a lot of times in my life, I have felt that with everything that one goes through, I do feel that human beings are meant to be kind, and our first reaction is to be kind, and we kind of fight that, and
yes,
really kind of
kindness is
overthink
all.
things and stop being kind to people. We are overthinking it. Our instinct is to be kind, and then we overthink it and then stop being
Yes.
kind. So I think we need to go with the instinct of being kind. What I want to ask you is, what is the common misconception about aging?
About
Aging.
age.
Yeah,
About it.
about aging, about growing older. What is the common
Yes.
misconception about growing older?
I think the misconception is that we grow old and we become senile. Um, which, which is not the case. Well, it's not all. It's only maybe um, one in a thousand who might go senile, no. Well, most of us, we might deteriorate physically to a certain extent,
Right.
but mentally, I don't think you do. In fact, sometimes I think we improve with age. Just like a good wine improves with age,
Yeah.
so does a good person. So
I love
I
it.
think thinking,
Yeah. I think
thinking
you
people,
grow. It's like old wine. So yeah, that's a nice
yes,
description for aging. You're only
we should
getting
be
better.
like old
Yeah.
wine.
That,
Yes.
that reminds me of this quote that you have in the book, where you say the human brain is at its most fertile in our later years, when there's a lifetime of experience at our creative disposal. So I want to ask you from here, what are your suggestions for keeping our minds active as we grow older?
Now, the way to keep one's mind active, yes. Well, I've always said grow things. Huh? If you have a garden, be a gardener, look after it, you know, take an interest in it, grow different flowers, vegetables, anything. Or if you don't have a garden, make an indoor garden. Have a little
Oh, yeah.
sunny veranda or a balcony or where you can grow things. I think the very fact of putting down a seed and seeing it pop up
Yeah.
like a small plant and grow bigger and give flower and fruit, it's an indication that everything is living with it. We're all living things, and we're
Circle
all
of
part
life
of it.
continues.
Yeah. And also, I think, why do not, I always tell people, you don't have to be a writer in order to write. I think everybody should do a little writing. It's good therapy. You know, keep keep a journal or write letters or uh,
Yeah.
just the very process of writing, putting your mind onto paper is good therapy in itself. That's why people keep diaries sometimes, because
Yeah.
it helps them maybe to deal
I'm
with
happy to hear
themselves.
what you said about, growing, if not a garden, then an indoor garden, and adapting to it in that way. Because if it was left to my mother always says crosswords, and I hate crosswords. And she's solving crosswords all the time and saying, I want to
Crosswords.
be active in my old age. And I hate
I
crosswords. So
can't do a
like,
crossword. I'm hopeless. I can never do a crossword. I
yeah.
don't have the patience for one thing. And it's a
Absolutely. I was
particular
like,
skill.
so
I
I'm
know
happy to hear
people who
what you're
do.
saying, because I thought I was doomed to a senile old age because I don't do crosswords. But now you've
No,
given me hope.
I can't do a crossword.
Yeah, even I find
And
them
it's a
extremely
particular
tedious.
skill, I
Yeah.
think, doing crosswords. Some people they start the day with the crossword
Yeah.
puzzle. So
Do you?
yes,
Did you
no,
ever
I
start your day with a crossword? And there were, in the
no, I
newspapers,
can
crosswords
no,
came in.
I've just tried once or twice and given up. The difficult ones are too difficult, and the easy ones are boring.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
why don't we
Yeah.
entertain them?
I'm so happy to hear that, because I'm just not a crossword person too.
No.
And yeah, so it's okay. I mean, Mr. Ruskin Bond, the writer, is not a crossword person, so it's okay if we don't get the crosswords. It's fine. So I think what we could say is that for people who are entering 60s, reading your book and listening to you, I would say that the suggestion that you would give for people who are entering 60s is that find that passion, continue with it, journal, write something, keep yourself active, watch something grow is what would be the lesson I would take away from this. Be it gardening, be it a pet or anything, just watch something grow, make something grow. And that, I think, will be one of the best things that we could do as we grow older. Would that be the correct way of summing it up for our listeners?
Yes, yes. Keep trying something new and discover new things. Yeah, and you keep discovering new interests too. Yeah?
Yeah.
If you look around you, keep an open mind. Take an interest in everything that's going on, even in politics. Without you don't have to go into it, but you should know what's happening
Be
around you. I think.
aware of it.
And yes, be aware of all that's going on in the world. That's important. I I'm not particularly fond of television, but I take 3 or 4 newspapers every morning. So
Okay.
I don't do the crosswords, but I read the papers.
Yeah. I'm
And
getting better at, I must confess that I'm getting better at tech now, and I've been sampling my news on my devices. I'm getting quite hooked to the idea of sampling my news on various podcasts and channels that are coming up. So I'm beginning to like the new technology more and more.
yes.
Having said that, I wanted to ask you that if there was anything that you wanted to kind of do over in your life, what is it? That one thing, if you got a chance to do it again, what is that one thing that you would do differently?
One thing that I would do again, or not do again,
Do it again and do differently.
or do differently. Hard to say. Maybe one of those love affairs, if I'd gone about them differently, then they might have had a better outcome. Let's say that.
Okay.
I don't know. Maybe as I've read.
Maybe that was a relationship, you could have looked at it in a different way. Is that what you would
Maybe I
probably
should have.
do
As a boy, I
differently?
wanted to be a tap dancer.
Oh,
So maybe if I'd become a tap dancer, I'd have been another Fred Astaire or Gene Kelly. But now I don't have the figure for it. So maybe it's just as well I stuck to writing.
yeah. But why not? Maybe a book
No,
about
I
a
think
tap.
if I had to lead my life again, it wouldn't. I wouldn't change it very much.
Okay.
I would just try to be kinder where I perhaps wasn't kind, or maybe write better where I might have been careless in writing. Been better
I
with
don't think you've ever been
my
careless in writing.
relationships
It's
with
wonderful
people.
what you write.
Well, one can always improve upon it,
Okay.
and I will continue to try to do so.
Yeah. That sounds interesting. Tell me, which of all the books that you've written, is there any one that's a personal favorite?
Sorry?
Out of all the books that you've written, is there any book that is your personal favorite?
Not really. Sometimes maybe the first one, the Room on the Roof, because I was only 18 or so when I wrote it, and I went to a lot of trouble over it. I wrote it not once, but at least 3 times, because the publishers kept saying, "Oh, you can write it again, Mr. Bond, improve it. We might publish it. If you can make it a better story." So I did it again and again and again. I worked hard on it for a couple of years, and it took me some time to get it published. So there's a lot of, also because I was still an adolescent, a lot of my, you can say, energy and mind and heart went into it. Yeah? Um, and so so in that way, it's my favorite because it
No,
it has
I
so
get
much
it. So
intensity.
that is your favorite. I know we need to wrap this, but just one question from this conversation that your first book, you had to write it 3 times because your publisher asked you to. I want
Yes.
to know if your publishers dare to ask you to rewrite your books now at this point of time in your life. I want to know that. We are on HarperCollins Insta Live, and I want to
No,
know does your publisher make you rewrite stories even now?
no, 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 that's true. No, in recent times, no one has asked me to, rewrite a story.
Okay.
They might have made the odd suggestion. Editors always do, and I listen to advice and appreciate it. Um, but no, I don't. I wouldn't now sit down and rewrite a book or even a story. If I'm not satisfied with it, I'll tear it up. Um,
Right.
but uh, but I won't let anybody else tear it up.
Mr. Bond, what is next? Because we
What's
know
next?
for sure that it's the golden year. So what is it? What do you think is
Oh,
next
I've
after this?
got I've still got some stories up my sleeve. I like
Mhm.
writing poetry. I often sit down and write a poem. Well, let's call it verse because it's not modern poetry. This, it's verse that has a rhythm and a
Okay.
rhyme and a meter and some music to it. And so I like writing poetry. I keep my journal. I write the odd essay. Um, and let's say, nonsense verse. I'm going to write nonsense verse, limericks.
That's
There was an
interesting.
old man in Landor who wanted young folk to laugh more. So he wrote them a book, and with laughter they shook as they rolled down the hill to God's paw.
Oh,
No,
nice.
so write funny limericks and songs. They may not sell, but I enjoy writing them.
Mr. Bond, I have to say that whatever it is that you're going to come out with next, we are looking forward to it. And I want to wish you happy birthday once again before we end
Thank you.
this conversation.
Yes,
Um, wish you a very, very, very happy birthday. And we are really looking forward to many more essays, novels, books, stories from you. It's
thank you
always such a pleasure talking
so
to
much.
you.
Thank you. You're very kind, and I'm only sorry the sound hasn't been better. I couldn't hear sometimes, but it's lovely talking to you. And
Yes,
there are already two,
I want
paid
to say that
subscribers.
before. Sorry,
Thank you.
Mr. Bond, what I want to say is that I'm hoping and looking forward to visiting Landor and being able to meet you. Last
Please.
time when we spoke, I said that I wish I could come and meet you. And, I think we had COVID after that, and it's just not been possible to travel. But I'm really looking forward to visiting Landor.
Please
It's
do.
such a
I'm
beautiful
here.
place. I love it.
I'm here
And meeting you
all the
personally.
time. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Bond. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye. See you.
Bye.
Thank you, guys. I hope you've enjoyed
Thank you,
this
sir.
conversation.
Thank you.
And looking forward to catching up on a live again soon. And don't forget the golden years from the golden years, the many joys of living a good life. I think this is a book that we need to get for our parents, for our friends, and to a lot of more. It's not just for the older people. It's a book that has some life lessons for all of us, and it's a wonderful read, as Mr. Bond's books are always. Thank you so much, Mr. Bond. Bye. Bye, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining in. See you all. Bye.